Hello, I'm Kathleen Weldon, the Data Archivist for the Roper Center for Public Opinion Research. I'm going to give an overview of the archive today. First, I'll describe the archive and the holdings in the collection. Then I will show you how to find questions and data sets in the digital archive. I'll finish up with some ways students can take advantage of Roper as a resource here at Cornell, and a quick description of some additional resources Roper offers on its public website. Let's start with the basics. The Roper Center is the oldest social science data archive in the world. It was established in 1947 by Elmo Roper, one of the founders of the field of public opinion polling. He thought scholars of the future would be interested in his work, particularly the surveys he did for Fortune magazine during World War II. And a few years later, his friend George Gallup provided his data to the archive, and the collection began to expand rapidly. It now includes data from over 100 countries and over 1,200 organizations. From 1935 to today, it holds over 25,000 data sets and a database of over 800,000 questions and top-line results from primarily U.S. national polls, but also U.S. state polls and some non-U.S. polls. There are an enormous number of repeated questions in that database, which allows for over-time analysis. So, with the large number of polls out there of greatly varying quality, how do we decide what data goes into the collection? First off, we have disclosure standards. In this area, we largely follow the professional standards set by the American Association for Public Opinion Research, or APOR. Following the APOR guidelines for transparency is one way that polling organizations signal that they are striving to be responsible members of the survey research community. So we follow those, and secondly, we do follow some methodological standards based on the collection. The largest part of our holdings are in the long-standing methods collection, and there are methodological requirements for inclusion in that collection. The recently developed methods collection is open to a wide range of methodologies, but because the methods are so varied, even more disclosure is required. We also do not accept marketing data, and we prioritize data that is of high interest to researchers, or of likely historical interest, or is at risk of loss. And anything accepted into the archive must be survey research. We don't have qualitative studies, public opinion analysis of social media, or other types of research like that. This slide and the next provide a bit of an overview of the development of the archive, which largely reflects developments in the field of polling. We have the largest early data collection in the world. From just a few organizations in the 30s and 40s, you see the number of survey organizations increases and the data becomes increasingly global. Over time, major multi-year series are undertaken. The quantity of polling in the collection increases over the decades, and it really explodes in the 1980s and 1990s, when nearly all organizations had shifted to telephone polling and response rates were still high. Then in more recent years, we see the addition of new methods. New methods really take off, largely because of the highly increased costs that lower response rates had brought to more traditional methods of polling and the availability of new technologies. Topically, the database covers politics and news events, but also social issues, religion and personal beliefs, economics, popular culture, anything that pollsters have asked the public about. So, of course, over the last few years, there have been a lot of questions about COVID. I want to go back to methodology for just a moment. Sometimes researchers are nervous about using less recent data because they're unsure of the methodologies used. So this is a general overview of the survey methods used by the field over the history of polling. In the early years, surveys were quota-based. They tended to have very large sample sizes, and there was very little weighting after the data was collected. The quotas served as the primary form of weighting. The shift toward probability-based methods came after the 1948 election, when polling failed to predict Truman's win. But the change was gradual, in part because in-person area probability polling is really expensive. Not until random digit dial telephone polling was developed did the vast majority of U.S. pollsters completely move to a probability-based approach. And then again, in the 2000s, you see this move toward a greater variety of methods. There are reasons to be cautious when using early data. The data can still be very valuable as long as you understand what you're using. So the earliest polls were, as I said, based on quota samples. But Gallup, in particular, set quotas looking at election participation. So those who were unable to vote, like Black Americans in the Jim Crow South, or who voted at lower rates, like women, are underrepresented in Gallup samples. However, Adam Berinsky and Eric Schickler have reweighted these studies to make them more representative of the general population of the time, and researchers should take advantage of the availability of those files.
Exploration begins with the search page. We're going to search for Congress as a keyword. The search will bring back normal English variants on keywords. If you want an exact search, just put the word or phrase in quotation marks. Other options for searching are also available. Here are the results. Our query searched for the word Congress in the text of polling questions and responses and in the titles and abstracts of studies. Every study in the archive has a study record, whether the study contains searchable questions in the database, datasets, or other materials. Filters are available to the left. I'm going to filter by those studies that contain datasets. The results show the file formats available for datasets. Clicking on the question will bring you to a page with the results. The question is presented in the context of the other questions in the same study. Methodological and other information is available on the Study Info tab. Citations for the study can be exported in a variety of formats. Datasets, documentation, iPoll top lines, and other materials can be downloaded from the Downloads tab. Your profile, available in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, provides access to your folder, activity log, an icon legend, and setting information. To learn more about using iPoll, look under the Learn tab of our website.
Now I'd just like to go over a few resources that Roper offers beyond the digital archive, some widely available and some specific to students here at Cornell. The public website includes a lot of educational materials, issue briefs, overviews, and many other resources, including one of our most popular, the Presidential Approval Ratings. Presidential approval is available from current day back to Franklin Roosevelt. Our polling and public opinion pages have a lot of useful information and background on methods in polling, polling history, understanding how to analyze a poll. We also have some quick answers with a very useful glossary that includes current terms in polling, but also those things you might run into in older documentation that not really used much anymore, and it's useful to have those definitions on hand. We also have video tutorials on how to use Roper tools, on particular collections within the overall collection, and we have on our YouTube page the recordings of Roper Roundtables, which are deep dives into particular issues, whether it's our transparency project or particular collections like our Japanese data. Roper Center has also recently launched the Health Poll Database, which is a portal into the questions related to health in iPoll with an unusual and innovative visual search tool that shows the interrelationship of ideas in health polling as well as curated trends and crosstabs. Finally, there are some benefits for students who are here at Cornell to take special advantage of the fact that Roper is here on campus. We have a graduate assistantship. We have a summer research fellowship called the Kohut Fellowship, after Andy Kohut, the founder of the Pew Research Center, where students come and do research in the archive, they do archival work, and they get to meet a large number of people from our board of directors and talk to them about the field of polling. We also have hourly employees. We have a student co-op program. We are always happy to help students who are interested in research, including hidden data that may not be visible on the public site, and our paper collection, which is quite extensive and is otherwise not accessible to students. So there are many advantages to having Roper on campus, and we are happy to help. If you would like to take advantage of those, please get in touch with me or email dataservices@ropercenter.org. Thank you very much.